I call this regular select board meeting to order. It is Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. It is 6:01 p.m. There is one adjustment to the agenda. That is, we are adding an executive session for the purpose of evaluating an employment situation. Is there any other adjustments to the agenda? Then we have an opening public comment. Nobody is here in this room, and I don't see anybody, so we will move from the opening public comment to our guest, Sarah Reeves, the Executive Director of Chittenden Solid Waste District, for an annual presentation that she will give to us, and we can then vote on that budget. Take it away, Sarah.
You're muted, Sarah. We cannot hear you. It doesn't look like you're muted, but can't hear you.
You hear me? You hear me?
Yes, very faint.
Okay. How about this? Is that better?
Sounds a little faint, but.
How's this?
Better.
I think that's probably what it is right there. Let's go, Bob.
Hey, how are you? Okay, give it a try.
Okay, we'll give it a go. Thank you. I will share my screen, if that's all right. There we go. Good.
Can you show that door?
Hopefully we are good. I will also try to speak clearly, slowly, and with some volume. So again, thank you for the time and thank you for the slot on the agenda. I do appreciate it. I'll be heading over to Westford from here, so thank you very much. And yes, my name is Sarah Reeves. I am the Executive Director for the Chittenden Solid Waste District, and I'm here to ask for your approval of our fiscal 24 annual budget. And for folks who may tune in at home, be in the audience, or watch this later, I do always like to remind people of who we are. And we are a municipality that was formed at the request of our member municipalities in Chittenden County about 30 plus years ago to manage the solid waste that is generated by residents, businesses, schools, institutions within Chittenden County. I also like to review where we receive our revenue and where we do not receive revenue. And in the pie chart, you can see the three main areas of our revenue sources. User fees or tip fees, those are the fees that are coming directly from our customers to us to manage their waste, like at a drop-off center. The sale of materials and products that we create, so selling compost or selling recycling that's sorted at the MRF. And then the solid waste management fee, which is essentially a fee that is charged at the Coventry landfill for every ton of trash generated in Chittenden County that's disposed there. Where we do not receive any revenue is directly from our member municipalities in the form of income tax or sales tax or property taxes. So none of our revenue is generated directly from that. And then I also like to remind folks or let people know how we're doing. And we do a really good job in Chittenden County of diverting material from the landfill. And you can see in this infographic that 61% of what we generate does get diverted away from landfill disposal, but there is a portion that is disposed that could still be further diverted. So we're asking folks to just take another look in their bag and kind of think before they throw and see if there's some other place that they can divert some of this material to help us take care of some of that 60,000 tons that could be diverted, could be recycled or composted or otherwise managed that is now being disposed. And each year I like to start with our bottom line, just like you, as a municipality, we have to get to zero. And this year for fiscal 24, we are budgeting revenue of just over $15 million, so $15,400,000. We are looking at expenses of just over $14 million, so about $14,400,000. The balance of that, the difference of just under $900,000, will be flowed into our reserve funds, and our board about a year ago authorized a priority listing of our reserves. So as one fills to a max, a preset max, the rest will spill over or waterfall into the next priority reserve. Essentially, whatever is kind of left over, and you can see the largest amount that's being flowed in is into the capital reserve, and that is to make sure that we can continue to have enough money in that reserve to do necessary infrastructure improvements as we go. Just a short comparison of this current year to next year. We're anticipating revenues to increase just under 10% and expenses to also increase at just under 9%. And what is driving the expenses, you can see percentage-wise, as an administrative cost increases, and the bulk of that is our new administrative office building. So we actually were thinking of building a building. We decided not to do that because the estimate came in, unsurprisingly to many folks out there, about 50% higher than we wanted. And so we decided to rent instead. So we are leasing space in the police station, actually of the South Burlington Police Department. We have a great office space, and we're actually going to move in a couple of weeks. So that is a new lease expense for us. And 1021 Redmond Road in Williston has been our home for a long time, and it's done a good job for us, but it is time to move on and move out. I have this slide here. This is something new this year. This is to kind of reiterate or to really inform folks of where our monies go to and how each program is funded and what their source of funding is. And our facilities or our operations programs are funded from revenue generated from our customers, from user fees and tip fees and sale of products. So we're talking about our drop-off centers, the MRF, the environmental depot, and our compost facility. And that is at really the direction of our charter. Once we have disposal facilities in place, our charter directs us to basically make those facilities self-supporting, self-sustaining. And again, talking about the sources of revenue, the solid waste management fee is $27 per ton, charged to haulers for every Chittenden County ton disposed in the landfill in Coventry. And this rate has remained the same for about 10 years now. And this is the fee that's charged to haulers at the gate at Coventry. And I've let my board know that I really would like us this year to talk about this fee. Not many other fees in Vermont or in the country have not risen over the past 10 years. And the philosophy has always been to not increase a fee if there's really no need to, if the expenses are being covered. But you'll see that this, there's going to be, I think, some additional need for these fees and other reserves that we'll talk about in a minute, and also just to have a discussion about, the purpose of the fee, where the fees are going to, what they're being used for. The materials recycling facility, or the MRF, we will be increasing the tip fee from the current $80 per ton to $85 per ton, and that is in direct response to a significant increase in our cost of operations. We negotiated the contract. The contract was up with Casella, who operates our MRF for us as on a daily basis, and that expired last June. And the new rate will be $70 per ton of recycling process. We were before this paying $45 per ton. So that is clearly a significant increase, and the modest increase in the tip fee will be strictly related to that contract. That increase will not take place until July 1. The contract increase has already happened. That happened as of March 1st. So we have enough of a buffer this year to manage that increase for the last quarter of the year. So we decided not to pass that on immediately to our customers and to give them plenty of notice on the increase. The sale of recycling, we're anticipating, again, a very conservative budget for that. We had a very, very good year 2 years ago, fiscal 22, a year and a half ago. That was an anomaly. That is not the norm. So we are back to budgeting very conservatively. The markets are somewhat stable, but they are suppressed. So we are not looking for the amount that we had 2 years ago for sure. We're trying to settle back into hopefully approaching a norm. Our organics diversion facility, our compost facility, we are also looking at a tip fee increase from $65 per ton to $70 per ton for food scraps coming in the door. And this is still an attempt to recover from the loss of tons that we experienced about a year and a half ago when Casella opened their organics facility in Williston, a depackaging facility. And that facility is designed to separate food from its container where that food cannot be sold or donated. For example, a batch or a run from Ben & Jerry's that for some reason didn't meet their specifications, that entire batch would need to be separated from the container and have the organics material recovered and then the containers separated out. So when Casella opened that facility, they did also divert some of their source separated non-containerized material to that facility. So we saw a loss in tons. And it was, we were quite excited back in fiscal 22, because you can see that bottom line is basically our subsidy line. It's a negative income. We're very, very close to breaking even. This year, we're going to probably have a subsidy of just over $211,000, and we're budgeting in fiscal 24 for a similar subsidy. We are working on getting more of those scraps back, those food scraps, but when those left, it did deal a significant blow to the bottom line. Similarly, in our drop-off centers, you can see that bottom line on income is a negative number. That means that system requires a subsidy. So in fiscal 22, it was just shy of $400,000. This year's budgeted subsidy is $422,000. And without a bag price increase, we would be realizing, again, a subsidy of about $421,000. So we are looking to increase bag prices to $3 for a small bag, $8 for a medium bag, $11 for a large bag. The rest of the pricing remains essentially the same. There is a very large per cubic yard pricing on trash that's also going up, but not many people bring trash that way. And just for some reference or for some background, before COVID hit and where we went to kind of an all-in-one bulk pricing, our small bag was $2.75. So we're essentially going up 25 cents from our pre-COVID days. And that is up to about 18 gallons for a small bag, 35 gallons of trash for a medium bag, and about 45 gallons for a large bag. And again, without this increase, the drop-off centers would continue to require subsidizing. And again, for kind of reference, the drop-off center system does represent nearly half of our full-time employees and all the associated costs. And as I'm sure you're well aware, the costs of health insurance have gone up dramatically. Materials management costs, which are the costs of hauling and disposal that we pay to other businesses, those have gone up at least 12%. So everything is going up. It's been a couple of years that we've held the pricing at the very low level. And again, to avoid a really a fifth year in a row of subsidy, we're bringing the bag prices up. We are, however, also adding some hours. So we are moving our hours of operation from Tuesday through Saturday for all of our drop-off centers, except Heinsberg. Heinsberg, we are restricted to only being able to operate 1 day a week, but for everyone else, we'll be moving to Tuesday to Saturday, and that adds hours in Milton, adds 2 full days in Milton, and it also adds some availability in Burlington. And I want to talk a little bit about some staffing, and really some staffing changes, but how we're approaching the increases this year. So for fiscal 24 in this budget, we are recommending a 7% cost of living adjustment. For fiscal 23, we implemented a 4% COLA. And when we implemented that in July, we were already behind what the CPI was or the consumer price index was. So our folks were already running under what I think they needed to have. So we are proposing a 7% for the coming year. This was based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Index, Northeast for the Northeast urban area, as of the end of December, which was about 7.4%. So we rounded that down to 7%. We also knew we had to mitigate some healthcare increases, so we decided to move to a lower cost healthcare plan, same availability, same network, just a higher deductible plan. We did that as of January 1st, and as of July 1st, we'll be increasing our employee contribution to premiums from 3.25% of their salary to 3.5% of the salary. And these two changes did then result in a total compensation per employee increase of just 1.4% compared to the current fiscal year. I won't spend too much on the capital plan, just to let you know that the reserve, as I mentioned that earlier, the reserve balance will be just over $3.3 million, $3.35 million. And the reason that that reserve is so healthy is because we had a great year at the MRF about a year ago. So all the extra unanticipated and unbudgeted revenue from that year flowed into our reserve. So each of our reserves, with the exception of one that I'll talk about in a moment, is very healthy. And we are proposing for the next year to be doing some major investments at the Milton Drop-Off Center and the Burlington Drop-Off Center. So here's the one that's not as healthy as we would like it to be. It is the Landfill Post-Closure Fund. So we are currently in about year 28 of the 30-year required post-closure care for the closed landfills that we manage in Williston. And as any landfill manager will tell you, you can really never have too much money in your post-closure fund because you never know really what's going to happen in years 25 to 30. And that's kind of where we're at. So what we're doing now is we're doing a series of testing and evaluations. We're producing more leachate than we should be out of the landfill. So we're figuring out why that is happening. And that's critical in order for us to be able to apply to the state for a lower threshold of care called custodial care. So we can't move out of post-closure until we can satisfy certain things, and we're not there yet. So the money that we have in the reserve will last through year 30, but we think we have more work beyond year 30. So we're not anticipating being able to move into custodial care for another 5 to 7 years. So we need to build up this post-closure fund a little bit. And again, that may be where we tap the solid waste management fee. Maybe increases to the solid waste management fee are directed strictly to this fund. There are other ways that we want to approach this. We are investing some of our funds, and we could, for example, take that interest that we earn and put that into this reserve to help shore this up. So there are several approaches, ways that we're looking at trying to boost this money because we don't have enough. And as a reminder, we always ask our legislative bodies of our member municipalities to please adopt our budget. We do need your approval in order to do so. And I'm going to stop sharing and ask if there are any questions.
I'll put a motion on the table so we can discuss. I move that we approve the CSWD FY 2024 budget proposal as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there discussion?
Yep. Sarah, thank you for being here tonight. Can we go back and look at, I was a little concerned when we started talking about the costs associated with the employees with inflation going up to 7%. And then what I heard you say and what I'm concerned about is that I believe inflation is more than 7% in New England. And so for 7% for COLA, and although you said that the healthcare premiums for your employees, you decided to take the step to offer a lower package and increase their contribution. So it's almost like they're getting a double whammy there. I would rather send the message that I would rather take care of the employees that work for Chittenden Solid Waste and have less money going into reserve for the future, because I believe that the employees at Chittenden Solid Waste are the ones that make that organization work efficiently and be productive. So I'm hoping that my words that I'm sending to you tonight, ring through to you, that I would rather see, from my perspective and my constituents, that you try to take care of, or try a different approach with trying to take care of the employees that work for Chittenden Solid Waste.
I really appreciate that comment. I am a very, very strong advocate for all of our team members, all of our employees, because they have really hard jobs. Solid waste is not a walk in the woods. It's a lot of hard work in all weather, particularly for the folks who do work at the drop-off centers and compost and at our depot. Our board is, if Paul were here, he would tell you, the board feels the same. What we have done over the past, I think it's 12 or 15 years, is the board decided that in order, to have a methodology that we could continue to use year after year for how we decide on a cost of living adjustment, if there is one, is to use the Bureau of Labor Statistics consumer price indexing report. So that's where we've landed, and I agree. We may be behind again, and so we've been talking about how can we keep more current, right? And that's always a struggle, because anytime we're doing this budget, we prepared it in December and January to take effect in July, and there's this gap, right? If anything could happen, it could go up, it could go down. So we're looking at ways to keep more current, still be able to budget an amount, because you have to put some number in there, but to make it so that it's better reflective of maybe the past quarter, right, of cost of living. And then it could go up and down. There have been years where there's been 1% cost of living adjustment. There have been years when there's been nothing. But I hear you, and that our greatest asset are our employees, and we're very fortunate. We have many folks who have been with us for a very long time, and we value not only them as people, but their knowledge and their experience, and we do want to make sure we're doing the right thing. As far as the health care, the program itself stayed the same, so the benefits did not diminish. It was just going to a different deductible program, and that was in order to be able to, again, mitigate the overall cost to the district, but also so that we wouldn't have to ask for even a greater contribution. And when we looked at the utilization rates, we saw, a percentage of how many folks maybe, used up all of the deductible and really met those requirements. It was a fairly smallish number. So we recognized that the overall impact to most of the employees would be fairly low. So we talked to employees about the different options and sought feedback. We wanted to make sure that we weren't making a decision in a vacuum. And this was, what kind of rose to the top as a way that we all felt comfortable that we could manage some of these costs.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm of the opinion that in my mind, low isn't good enough. I would rather have no impact to the employee, as a retention thing for the Chittenden Solid Waste, and that, we strive to take care of our own. So, I mean, that's the message I want to convey to you and to the board, is that really take a look at that. I realize that you're looking at this, very globally, and you're doing your very best, and I appreciate all the hard work that you and the board are doing. I really want to stress the importance, I think, of taking care of the staff. So I appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight and walking us through this.
I will definitely bring that message back to our chair, and I'm sure Dan will have a conversation with Paul when he's back from vacation.
Sarah, I have a question about, you said appropriately that costs are raising everywhere for everybody, for everything. And I know that it's costing the haulers a bit more. And are you getting any hauler pushback on the raising?
No, we haven't heard anything from the haulers, and the proposed budget was put before the board in the end of November. So there was an opportunity for haulers to comment then. Then we had a public hearing in January, and then all of our finance committee meetings are also open meetings, open to the public, and we haven't heard any feedback from any hauler.
And I'm wondering, as it trickles down, how it's affecting the pocketbooks of the constituents. And I know that I like that slide about how we are doing and what we can still reduce. That's appreciated. And I'm wondering if there is feedback from people and they feel like they're being pinched or they're still getting a bargain. Are they still, and this is probably from your PR people, are they still finding ways to reduce their own footprint, which is, I think, one of the mission statement items on CSWD's mission.
Yeah, you bring up a really interesting point, Dan, and we haven't done any surveys, but we have heard from some of our operators, our drop-off center operators in particular, that some of our customers, particularly the ones who were routinely using kind of the smaller bags, the smallest bag, that they couldn't believe that this was covering our costs. And they were right. It was not covering our costs. So there's certainly an acknowledgement that, that particular size bag was being undervalued and was not meeting the needs of covering that portion of the bills for us. So I don't think that, and again, this is coming from our operators who, they are the boots on the ground, and they actually recommended a higher rate. Maybe I shouldn't tell you that, but they recommended a higher rate, and I thought that going higher than $1, which is significant in 1 year, would be not the right way to go, and that we would take this year to make up some of those other expenses and see if there's any of the no charge items. Is there an opportunity to kind of recover some of those costs? But they felt strongly that our prices were too low, particularly on that smallest bag. So the smallest bag is now kind of coming back up to market price, and then the other two are covering their costs. So between those three, the DOCs again are back in the black. And we did see an increase in the number of customers of trips, particularly as curbside hauling was increasing. And there's still that convenience factor, right, to hauling. And we don't have any control over what haulers charge or what fees they may or may not pass on to their customers. But we do know that there is a convenience factor, and not everyone wants to put their trash in their vehicle and take care of it. What we did see too happen during COVID was when we went to, you may recall, kind of a flat fee, the $10 and the $20, we had many of our customers change their habits. And instead of coming every week, they pretty quickly learned that if they consolidated and were able to wait even the 2 weeks, that they ended up saving money. I think we'll see some of the same. Where this may affect some folks, they may decide, well, instead of coming on an every week basis with my garbage and recycling and food scraps, let me see if I can make it 2 weeks. Easier said than done in the wintertime, I recognize, but it also may spur them to, again, look in that bag and see, okay, well, if the stuff that I'm worried about and might be smelly is, can I be pulling out my food scraps? Should I try composting at home? Are there ways to reduce the food that I'm generating, food waste? which will reduce the need to get rid of your trash on a regular basis. So we are certainly here to help provide some of those tips and techniques and to help folks figure that out. And Dan, you're right, our main mission is waste reduction. We actually would like to see fewer customers. We want to see less revenue in that solid waste management fee. We want less material to go to the landfill. So we'll certainly be taking some feedback, I'm sure, from our customers when this rolls out. It won't roll out until July, but we will be making sure people are aware of it starting probably mid-May and certainly beginning of June.
And just so this is a part of the public record here, just assuring the people who are listening to this now and in the future that the town also is willing to cooperate and give coaching to people who want to save some money, and also in turn do a better job of treating the environment in a better way. I just want to make that as part of the public.
Sarah, I've got a question. Thank you so much for all this material. It's great to just go through, very comprehensive. In the packet, you noted that revenue is down for the drop-off centers for the Richmond facility and also Burlington. And I just wanted to learn a little bit more about how much that was down, what you're going to do. Do you have any strategies to replace that? And just a little backstory on the Richmond facility. And are all the facilities at risk of being bid out to Casella and being a competitive situation? So a couple of questions packed in there.
Sure, thank you. So yeah, certainly the drop-off center revenues are down in part because we are no longer operating the Richmond facility, and we went to we maintained kind of our COVID operations at Burlington, which is only to accept food scraps. So some of our customers who used to go to, we would see at Richmond, some did start going to Williston, but the Richmond facility now, from what I understand, is run pretty well. So I do think that still is a factor in the reduction in revenue overall for the drop-off center system. But we definitely want to get back into Burlington in a more meaningful way. And we're in conversations with the city to hopefully be able to expand at the Pine Street location. There's a lot going on there as far as work on the Parkway, and they have a rail project that's going on, and so, but we're having conversations about how can we bring this back to Burlington, and if we do that, and we have factored that in to our budget because we are anticipating being able to come back to Burlington this year to serve trash, recycling, food scraps, sleeping yards, scrap metal. That will certainly help that bottom line. And as far as could Casella come in and make a pitch for any of the other facilities? Sure, they could. The only facility that would not be happening in because of the host town agreement and because we own the facility is Williston. So I do not anticipate that we would ever cede that to any entity. But certainly, if any of the host towns feel that they want to have a different arrangement, they could certainly bid out the services. And we would submit a bid, again, just like we did with Richmond, and hope that we would come out on top. The main difference, the only difference, and the Richmond Select Board said this in public session, was that Casella promised to put back a reuse shed. And we did not want to put back a reuse shed. And so that was the main factor there. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same. So there's some risk, and again, I think I would just say, well, if that were to come to pass, we would do our best and make sure that we had a good submission for the RFP, and then just put our hat in the ring. I don't want to sound too cavalier about it and sound like it's not a big deal. It was certainly a loss. We were in Richmond for a long time, and we had folks who really love seeing our employees. They loved coming in every week and seeing George and Amy, and there was that loss of community, and we did feel that as well. But I think we provided a good service for a long time, and I think the town did what they needed to do and I think they are still getting good service from what I hear. So I think it was a win for them, and we'll continue to do as well as we can with the rest of our facilities.
With the reuse cycle or reuse building and recycling, will you as a board reconsider that at some point? I was a big fan of that when I used that at a drop-off center.
It was very, very difficult to manage. And I think if we were to ever do it again, we might do it maybe in just one location. And it would have some, part of I think what happened for us is that we had one location that was kept very well, Richmond. It was very well used. Items were cleared out. And one thing we didn't do that we could have done was we could have, and we posted this, charged a fee for anything going into the reuse zone, a modest fee, $1, something like that, to cover the cost of disposal when we cleared out the zones. Because we would routinely receive material that was not safe, it was dangerous, that should never have been put in there. We would have to consider staffing it, having an employee monitor the zone, and that's all they would do. So maybe it would be, that location was only open for accepting material 1 day a week so that we could properly staff. There's a lot of factors that would go into the decision. But if we were to do that, I think, again, it might be one location. Maybe that's an opportunity for the current MRF when it is decommissioned when we build a new one. We still haven't decided what we're doing with that facility yet. So could that be a component? Maybe.
Thank you.
So I have gone to the Richmond place as well as the others, and I like the improvements that are made in the CSWD drop-off centers. And I don't think we have to have anything to worry about. I think Casella, my sense is, without really getting direct feedback, is that they're having some buyer's remorse about the reuse zone. It's a little bit, the signs that you read around it, and that's they're seeing the pitfalls of the reuse zone. And I think that some discussion, if we would institute that, maybe in one location, that might be a good thing, but we don't want to be competitive to resource or goodwill or the Habitat for Humanity, but because they're in sync too with society.
I like to call the question.
All in favor of approving the CSWD budget as presented, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes carry this motion 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Take care. She good to go.
People really like the reuse. People really like the reuse building.
Oh God, I used to
The
love
last couple of times I was there, they had a bucket load in front of the door loading things in. It's a much smaller building than it used to be there.
Yeah.
And it really is.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, guys. I will be very brief. Keep you guys right on schedule here. I just wanted to let you know that the ARPA reporting period, which is now on an annual basis, once a year, we have to go into the portal, the treasury.gov portal, and report what we've spent for the 12-month period. The 12-month period of April 1st, 22 to March 31st, 23 is due April 30th next month. The portal hasn't opened yet. It opens on April 1st. I'm ready to go to report what you guys committed and spent this year. All we spent was, and I gave you this, is the $40,000 which went to the recreation, and then the mailer that was sent out by the ARPA committee, which was the $324.40, which was the cost of the postage, and the $500.84, which was the cost of the printing. So the total for the year that I will be reporting in the portal is $40,825.24. I just wanted to let you guys know that. I'm doing it. I'm on top of it. We will be in compliance.
Sweet.
Very nice.
That's it.
Very nice. Appreciate your work and the work of this knowledgeable committee.
That's all I have.
All right, we'll keep moving then. If that's 6:41.
See, that got you right
Have
on
a good
schedule.
weekend.
So there's some tree quotes in here for some trees that needed to be cut. There's 3 bids on the first sheet of your packet. I just put where we are currently with tree and brush removal. Currently we have $30,000 budgeted and we've spent $3,650. So the bids are as follows. Let me summarize them here. Save a Tree, which is the new name for the old Barretts.
Really?
That was $68.85. There's a company called On a Limb Tree Service, $12,500, and DJ's was at $7,800. And the quotes were included. So it's my understanding that Don Toby and Nate drove around, looked at all these trees, and they were approved by Don. I did forward these quotes to him to look at.
So the scope of work, because there's such a spread, are some of them taking care of the flagging? Are we doing the flagging? Because I do not want to get into a situation where the town of Underhill is doing any flagging. No municipal employee is getting involved in that.
Right, so all of these, it's my understanding, all these smaller tree companies, and we don't want to confuse it with the big chipping job that we did on the valley. These guys all bring their own flaggers, their own crew.
I want to know the scope of work of exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it before I approve anything, because I am not in favor of spending any money without knowing specifics, and I do not want to get into a situation where we are going outside of the town right of way and having to replace people's personal property. So I want to know specifics as far as before I approve anything for tree removal or brush removal, what we are specifically doing, because someone from the town has to manage that.
Right, and that's, the tree warden looked at it, but so I'll just read for review. DJ says remove 1 large ash tree, 2 maple trees, chip brush, and bring good wood to 26 Dowland Road. So we want to see what do you need to see in order to review this?
Before, we were into a situation where we had to have municipal employees and volunteers to direct traffic.
Totally different situation here. This goes on just like we've always done with
Yep,
these guys.
but I've gotten caught once. I'm not getting caught a second time. So I want to know specifically from these guys of whether or not they're going to take care of it or who's going to take care of the directing of the traffic, because I'm not going to get involved in this situation again.
And Brad, I had the same note. I didn't see anything on flagging. That was a question I was going to ask too.
Yeah, see, I think we're just, we kind of lost touch with how these folks operate versus a huge skidder, grapple, chipping operation,
Well,
right? They work in the woods. These guys work in urban areas all the time, bring their own road. But I'll find it out for you.
Because once you get one sour taste, I don't want to have it again.
So who is taking care of flagging? What else would you like to know?
And who's going to manage that? Who's going to manage that work crew? Because I'm assuming
This is a subcontract, so you cannot manage this crew. You show them the trees you want removed.
And
then
Don
that's
Toby
it.
has approved those and marked them.
so we've also run into this problem where we've had someone go out and say, this is where I want you to cut. And then we find out like we've gone beyond where we're supposed to be. And so then it just becomes, well, then who is going to pay for
Trees.
Well, we've got into like all the excuses in the world, like, well, we used the wrong color because some people may be colorblind and the whole 9 yards. So just like, I want to be very clear that if you go beyond what the scope is for these projects, then who's going to be responsible to pay for the damages outside of the scope? Because I don't like spending tens of thousands of dollars beyond what we thought we were going to do for having tree and brush removal.
Just going out to bid, right?
I think
These are
the concern that you have, Bob, is more on the brush removal side of things when they go around with that tractor. That's where the headaches have, and that's why we kind of put it on the table, let's get our own tractor. But I think the tree services, they aren't gonna do any more work than they're wanting to do because it's a bigger job cutting down a tree than running.
If the trees are going to be marked somehow that's universally accepted, I'm good. But I just want to be very clear. I do not want to revisit this and have a situation where now we've cut down, somebody's, lilac bush or whatever, and it was in the kill zone or whatever, type of thing. So I'm very reluctant to want to have anything done until we have it very clear as far as what these guys are going to do and how they're going to do it.
So how's this? If we had photographs of the trees that were going to be taken and a very specific description, I could take my diameter tape out, give you a DBH, give you a species, give it a picture, show you the tree painted, give you a latitude, longitude, off the center. I'm saying I go right over the top. I have no problem doing that. It's easy for me to do. I did it my whole life. So, and then we need to follow up with the only thing I fear with a subcontractor, the minute the town interferes with the job that they're contracted to do, they're going to say the liability's on you.
You slowed me down.
Right. So here are the trees we want you to remove. Patty knows it's your contract to remove these trees. You are 100% responsible. You just want to make sure the communication is very clear with which trees to cut. I think
it's like a purchase order requirement that, like in this case, it's like in my world, in the utility world, you've got it right away. We have a right to clear the whole thing.
Sure.
This is very different. We're selecting a tree.
Not necessarily.
Well, agreed. But we're actually selecting a tree, marking it. This is very different than a right of way clear. Selecting a tree, marketing, telling the contractor to go cut it down. It's almost like a purchase order requirement that in the event you are obligated to cut the trees we've identified. In the event you don't perform the duty as listed, you're liable for any repercussions.
Yeah, we can be a lot more specific about
with that
rather than.
Would that go to you?
Yeah, because I'm just, we stirred the hornet's nest with some of these folks, and it's just like, I really don't want to go through that again.
Well, this was more of a multi-tree situation, the problems we got into before, right? Multiple trees were marked. There was a tree shear involved again, right?
Yeah, the tree shearer, I think, is really.
These are different from the tree shears. These are independent
Onesie-twosies.
buckets.
Yeah.
They got train trucks,
Yeah.
guys out in the road clean up the debris, chipping. More of an urban tree setting than the shear.
Yes, for loggers.
Right. The other guys were loggers, right?
There was some utility work this morning over near Maple Leaf Road, on River Road, and it was a tree company that was
Correct.
doing the work that I'd never heard of before. They were extremely efficient. They had a big bucket up in the air, and they had 2 flaggers there, and it was going pretty smoothly from my point of view. I think that these guys that work in neighborhoods, they know that they have to direct traffic.
Well, they've
It should
always
be-
directed traffic.
But it should be a commitment that, it should be in black and white, a commitment that they are responsible for the flagging and all traffic control.
Mhm.
And if they cut an unmarked tree, they're responsible for the damage to that tree. It's almost like a purchase order.
Yeah, we can make that very clear. No problem. There was a bad tree that I notified Bob about at the corner, and I did tell Bob Kennedy from Green Mountain Power was in here the other morning, and it just so happened I told them about it, so maybe they'll actually get that one too. There's a dead maple with a top is very dead, and it's a very big tree.
Just wait for a good windstorm again.
Yeah. So anyway,
Do you have a recommendation, Brad, or does Nate have a recommendation?
I can write up something. I can get these guys.
I would like to move that we approve, I don't know.
We want to approve one of these, however, the
Or
conditions might change based on
I would like to authorize Brad to make a determination and clean up the bids so that they are comprehensive.
To address traffic control and
Right.
clearing of trees that are our responsibility.
Sounds good. And I think we can be very specific, like I say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you necessarily have to get to the longitude and latitude, type of thing, but the point is that I'm trying to make is that, X marks the spot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Take this tree. Tag it, flag it, however they want to identify it so that, we don't get into, oh, they were colorblind. They didn't know that, whatever the appropriate color flag tape is or paint, I guess I have the utmost confidence and faith in you, Brad. I'm not trying to paint a picture that, I don't have that with you. I just don't want to go through with the residents getting torqued off and having to come to a select board meeting. And then, we have to, not only have to pay the bill, but we also have to try to make it right for the residents.
Yeah. I think the big disconnect was when we went with the tree shear guys, just like Kurt was saying. They're loggers, used to working in the woods. These guys are used to working in, but we'll make sure it's very clear. I'm all for that. So the more clear, the better. Then there's no questions.
I move that we authorize Brad Holden to complete this deal as was outlined in this discussion.
I will do this. And do you want to see the bids again or the?
On that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
Do you have a recommendation of one of the companies? Because the cheapest isn't always the best to work with or the least expensive in the end.
I really like, to be honest with you, this out on a limb from Enosburg. We had very good luck with them. However, they're kind of a husband and wife team that when they come out to estimate, and it was just the husband this time and not the wife. And they gave us a really good price before. They were the highest ones.
Yeah.
Maybe I could ask them to come out and take a look at it again. But they were very responsible and they did a really clean job. DJs and Barrett's, there's big overhead.
Those points of performance really count. If they've done a good job and it's clean work and we don't have any headaches associated with it, that counts. And I would go with a more expensive bid knowing I've got somebody who's going to take responsibility and do a really good job.
And I think they tune up their bid.
But 12.5 over both of these, that's a big
difference. Too big a difference.
It's almost double.
Yeah, it's too big of a difference.
So all in favor of that motion?
Say the motion again.
Motion is to authorize Brad Holden to complete this deal with the cutting of the trees as delineated through the discussion in partnership with our tree warden.
Do we want to do a not to exceed value or?
I have faith in Brad to use
Because
use the right. You pick the right company. I get it. I just at this stage in the game, I don't want this to come back, and I trust that you will use the right one makes the most fiscally responsible sense for the town of Underhill. I know that you won't pick the most expensive one. I think you're gonna sharpen the pencil and be very clear with them. So I don't need
That's
that. I have faith in Brad to manage that situation and then kind of hope for the best, type of thing.
I hope we don't pay 12.5, but I'm going to leave it to you.
Yeah, we won't pay 12.5. Yes,
Okay.
and I like the a lot more professional in the other two descriptions and so forth. So there was some contradictions in the trees, which makes me wonder about the communication to begin with.
Okay,
So
all right. I'm good.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes carry this motion 3-0.
I got you right now.
right. So at 6:55. So it's grant time for VTrans Class 2 pavement, Class 2 roads. So the Park Street and Pleasant Valley are eligible for the Class 2 grants. And then also and also River Road, I'm calling it, all one. Basically, it's Town Highway 1 is eligible. And then structures grants, and we're not talking about engineering here, we're talking about implementation structures grants. So Kurt put the proposals together, I put them in your packet. You want to start with the structures one first?
I got the paving one up. So
Okay.
Go through that. So the paving one, I haven't sent you pictures yet. We get these application notifications in the middle of February, and I usually wait until we get clear roads. So tomorrow I'll be able to take pictures. And the stretch we're talking about is 144, just above New Road, on up past Harvey Road to like 250 or so. We had originally thought that we were wanting to take all of that asphalt, somewhere on the order of 15, 20 inches, down to the sub base and grind that all together. The cost for that is just excessive. So in talking with the estimator from Pike, Joe Montaigne, he said most towns nowadays are doing what they call a mill and fill. They take down 2 inches, put in new material, and go, which is considerably less expensive. So for the vast majority of this mile or so section of road, that's what we want to do. With the one exception being, if you approach Harvey Road coming from the south heading towards Cambridge, as you probably know, there's a rise that then drops down to where Harvey Road is. So if you're on Harvey, looking to turn left or right, when you look south, your sight line is very limited due to that rise. We know there's ledge in there. We don't want to get into that because that's going to get expensive. But there's a good foot and a half of asphalt that's built up over the years that's kind of made the sight line worse. And so we'd like to have them in that section, probably 500 feet or so, is to take it down to the sub base completely and then lay down the usual 4 inches that you do when you're on sub base. So that'll subtract off a good foot, 14 inches or so, and gain us that piece on the rise, and then use that same material over on Harvey and build it up a foot. And so we'll gain a couple of feet, which will get us pretty close to where we need to be from a sightline point of view.
So how's that gonna work with the resident that lives right there on the corner?
Yeah, we've been talking. So we've still got some more conversations to have with them about fixing it up a foot. And
Because you not only do you have the house on one side of the road, but you have its garage on the barn on the other, so it's just like, and happening to be right there on the corner, it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge.
The only good thing is there's a catch basin.
catch basin right in the corner. So as that water collects in that area, this catch basin, you grab it. We may need to consider putting a culvert in there someday if it turns out that catch basin doesn't hold it all.
Are you proposing that it's gonna be like a gradual incline as you go up the valley road from, say, New Road towards Cambridge? That I'm envisioning that it's gonna be more of a gradual, increase or grade going to Harvey Road, that it's not gonna go up and then level, plateau out, and then
We'll
up
take
again.
that top and we'll instead of having it like this, we'll bring it down and grade it down. We're not gonna take that whole top of the hill off. There's 2 driveways just south of Harvey. There's a guardrail, there's one driveway down, guardrail, and then another one on 100. So those 2 will have to adjust their driveways because we're gonna take it down lower. So we'll have to bring them in. And then Patrick's on the corner, we're gonna have to adjust. And
You might not be able to do a foot. It might be less than a foot.
Yeah.
You do whatever it can
We'll work with them.
accept.
So that's a little bit extra money. When I tallied all that, I had a cost estimate that came out with contingency at 10% around 280,000. We're waiting for the estimate to come from Pike. Hopefully we'll get that in the next week or two. Once I get that, I'll plug that into the cost estimate with formal contractor numbers. But I expect it's going to come out somewhere in this vicinity. This avoids the previous thought of taking it all out. We were going to have to move like 2,000 yards of asphalt, bring it back to the town garage. Then we have to mix it with another 2,000 yards of gravel and haul all that back up to the road. It was going to get expensive and time consuming.
Thought we were
This
just,
is much faster.
thought we were gonna dump it in the parking lot of,
We will still have some
There'll
to
still
go.
be plenty there.
Yeah, we're still gonna have a fair chunk. We're taking 500 feet down, a good foot. We use some of it to bring it up, but we're still gonna have a fair amount to roll.
so the idea is that we are going to use a lot of that fill then for over, for Casey's Hill parking area?
So the question is timing. So we're waiting to get this grant approved. If it is, we should find out in May. And if it's approved in May, then we'll put it in the budget this fall, winter for the next fiscal year, because it's not in fiscal year 24. This would be fiscal year 25. So if that work gets done beforehand, then another option is that parking lot down towards the Goldman's. We could use that as better material to go in there instead of just on topsoil with it.
Well, you've also got all the ditching that needs to be done.
And there's ditching in there too, but ditching means we're gonna be pulling up junk.
Yeah, but there'll be some clean stuff.
There will, yeah.
You know, there'll be clean stuff
Yep.
in the mix, so.
Nate's got a fair amount of work to do down through Pleasant Valley, so he's got that on his docket for this year to get prepped for following year. And we hope we get this application approved and then we can put it into the budget.
And the ditching material along there, I know we talked to the landowners about the trees and stuff like that when we have to go and cut them, that type of thing. But are we talking with the landowners of where the gravel or the material is to find out if they want it on their property before we just assume that we're taking it?
I think ditching is different than trees, that we can just haul that away.
I'm with him that might not be a bad idea to have conversations with folks about it.
It isn't, but we need to be very careful about what you're filling. When you bring fill into someone's private property, you know, if wetlands are involved or anything like that, the town then assumes responsibility.
Or somebody's got to be supervising the ditches for invasives.
And there's that too.
But that's not to say that you say, here, we've got these piles, you want it dumped over here, here you go.
Well, I guess that's where I was thinking, is just like, you know, if you're going down through, you know, and use Seth as the example, if Seth needs some material dumped or whatever, it's just like, I'm not saying that we have to bring it to his back 40, but, you know, we can dump it and he can take his tractor and move it to wherever he wants. It's just like, it's, in my mind, it's his really anyway, it just happens to be in our right of way. If he wants it, then we could certainly give it to him or make it available to him, you know, and not have to take it away so far. I guess I just want to be mindful of the fact of the property owners of where we're going to be doing the ditching to see if they want it.
It's not much different than what we do all the time. You know, this isn't it's a big ditch job, but, you know, we've done bigger.
I suspect Nate talks to him about the trees. I don't know if he's talking to him about the ditching material.
Well, trees are gone, right?
Right.
Trees are all gone. We're talking now stumps. So when we get into stumps, not many people like stumps, but
There's a few that do.
there's a few that do.
Yeah. No, it's good.
It may be a quick conversation.
Yeah, right. No, we don't want any of that.
So one other thing that's not in this grant application, but it is kind of part of this job, and again entails Harvey Road, is that guardrail, because of its presence there, it's a very steep banking and it drops down to 20 feet or so. Doesn't allow the plows when they come down through there to use the wing to push the snow back far enough so that in the winter, when you're sitting on Harvey looking up, there's this wall of snow there. So we'd like to talk to, and I can't think of his last name, but Scott, who owns the property behind Patrick up against Pleasant Valley, to see if there's some way between Lafayette, who does the guardrail, and Scott's property that we can maybe adjust that guardrail so that they can plow that out with the wing and push that back further so that you can get a cleaner sightline. Because if we fix this, and it's good for 6 months, 8 months out of the year, but we've got a 4-month problem, that's the time when it's the worst. When it's in the winter, someone coming over the hill at 50 miles an hour or so, they go to hit the brakes, and it's a little slick.
That could be added in the budget for next year if we get the grant.
Correct. I just want you to know that UC 280 here, there's probably going to be a little bit more for some of the work with the guardrail, which is not built into this because it's more of a sightline issue.
And the grant's gonna be 200, hopefully.
Hopefully it's at least
maybe
200.
more,
That's what last year was, and maybe they'll bump them up for this year, given the inflation that's going around. So yes.
So do we need to approve anything here?
I think you should, I think proper procedure would be to approve the submittal of the application. Maybe contingent on a few minor tweaks as information,
For the cost estimate.
but basically the long and short of it is, do you want to apply for a pavement grant for Pleasant Valley Road?
Yes.
Are there any downsides?
No, except for, there's a match. There's always a match, but, and we'll need to come up with some money, but you've got a big chunk of money and then you just add some more money into it next year's budget and
Mhm.
you go across the road.
80 to meet the whole thing.
I will move that. Reapply for the grant.
I'll second it. And we're not going to get fixated on the exact number here because you're going to tweak that.
Well, it's an estimate anyway, because they're gonna give you what they're gonna give you,
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right?
right,
So it's a
okay.
grant to a maximum. They'll look at the project and say,
Okay.
yep, this
We
is,
don't have to make a
within
motion
there.
for a number.
Yeah, it comes in over 240, so we're making our 20%. State's
Okay.
funding up
We
200.
don't have to move that until we approve the matching.
Correct. When it goes up to bid.
next
it's
year.
just, the thing is, Kurt might get some numbers from Pike, who was gracious enough to come out and give us some rough estimates, so that estimate might change just a little bit.
And we have to thank Pike, because this is the second time they've done it for us.
Yeah.
Once with the old format, tearing it all up, and then once again, no, that's too expensive, I'd love this. So they've been very good to us.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next one is a little more discussion in the sense that we have a 200K grant to go do construction on the mountain road, what is currently a box culvert today, going to become a bridge. And since we got that last year, what's been happening is Bridge 7 has been really accelerating in the rate of deterioration, whereas the one on Mountain Road is still coming along. It doesn't see salt anywhere near as much or the heavy-duty traffic that Pleasant Valley does. So it's hanging in there. It's ready to. One of those wing walls comes down and starts to block the stream, we're going to have problems, but we can fix that. So our concern is, at this point, really geared more towards Bridge 7. When we started all this on Mountain Road, Bridge 7 was actually in all right shape, not great, but all right. And it's just really plummeted in the last few years. So what we're asking,
That assessment.
so what we're asking the state to do, and this is going to get a little tricky, because when we talked to Jim Cota, who's the administrator for the grant program, he's kind of said, well, you turn back the money from Mountain Road, and then that'll leave the state grants towards the town at a lower level, so move you up in the list for getting grants for this. And we're kind of reluctant to just say, sure, here's your 200K back, and now we put that in the pot and hope the dice roll goes good for us this year on Pleasant Valley.
We'd like more of a guarantee than that.
We would. So what we're stating in the application is that, given that situation, if it's necessary to get an award for Bridge 7 in this calendar year, then we'll give you back that money. But we're not giving you back the money up
We'll
front.
exchange.
We'll exchange it. We'll send that back if we get this one.
If and only if.
And
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
so the question is, will they be okay with that language? Brad's got a call to Jim Cota, who's out on vacation right now, but is hopefully going to be back next week, and we'll find out. But we just want to make sure that when we do this, that
I spoke with Alicia, and she's a new person in there, but she was involved in grants and at a different level, VTrans, and she said this is not uncommon.
I can imagine that they would be quite sensitive and sympathetic to that, because they know data too on bridges and
their state inspection teams are looking at it and they see
priorities
it.
change.
They don't think it's as bad as we think it is, but they recognize there's problems in the infrastructure underneath the bridge deck. So, and the bridge deck itself
Comparing
is
it to all the other ones.
And by the way, so just to follow up, this is new information today, but remember the letter that I read to you that you approved to submit for the load rating request. I heard back today that they will not be doing a load rating request because their assessment on the load rating hasn't changed. They're sticking with I forwarded that to you. They're sticking with their inspection from this summer, and basically the load rating, I think, was 20,000 pounds, or the bridge was designed for 20,000 pounds. So that's where they're staying.
Okay.
So do we have a consensus that we want them to,
I guess the big thing is to make, what I think should be on the record here, it's very clear what we're doing, or what we're asking you to do is to ask the state to exchange a grant award we already have in anticipation of putting it towards a grant we want to get.
And the only caveat with that is if they're feeling plush with funds this year for whatever reason, because less applicants come in, and they're like, no, we recognize Mountain Road needs it, and we recognize Bridge 7 needs it, they might say, here you go for Bridge 7, and keep Mountains. That's a possibility.
That is a possibility.
I don't know if it's likely, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, I trust your negotiation skills.
Well, to put in some good word, I think is Trevor on appropriations now?
Yeah.
I think he is. Yeah, so it would be good to give Trevor a call.
I talked to him at town meeting, and he would very much like a letter from the board, which I'll have to pen up to get to you guys to look at, talking about how inflation has really hit towns hard, the state as well. It's hit the towns hard. And yeah, they increased these grants from 175 to 200. That's only about 10%. That's not much compared to what we're seeing for increases. So, and oh, by the way, our request for paving grants is now up to 5 years. It used to run about 3 to 4 years. So to me, we're getting less money in current dollars than we used to get. And if we wrote him a letter saying, hey, are you aware that towns are struggling for financial reasons, taking care of, especially these bridges that were built back in the floods of 27 and whatnot? There's a lot of them. We're not alone in the state, but it would be nice, it would behoove, in my mind, the state to help the municipalities a bit by throwing some of that federal money at us. We haven't seen any of that federal uplift come our way yet. At least not this town.
Right. There's other communities that are earmarked to have some, but we're not on that list.
Yep.
So that would be a very good idea to work with Trevor on that and
some other folks.
put a letter in
Get a
front
letter
of
in
us
place
next
in front of you.
time.
Yep.
And we will likely slide it through.
Yeah, I'm out
You
for a
know,
bit, but I'll try and work on it while I'm.
Although Trevor's on appropriations, I think we should put it to, I'm sorry, I'm tired. What's her name from Jericho as well? I know.
Yeah.
So.
I can talk with Catherine and company and see if they want to co-sign that they're in sync with us. For that matter, I know the Chamber Selectboard reasonably well too. I could have all three of us come in with,
Yeah.
although Trevor doesn't represent Cambridge Gas. Maybe it's better to keep it to us.
no, you were just talking about the representative from Jefferson.
Yeah, Catherine, if she wants to do it.
So anyway,
And you've got all the pictures, cost estimates from TR Fellows that did the workup on that, so that's.
yeah, that one's really, that one's complete.
Got bridge design, all the workup, so we'll work up that.
And the signs are up on the bridge.
Did see that. Okay.
They look good. They do look really good. Catch your eye, the white, the bright.
It's very clear.
So
in our packet, I was confused by what I'm looking at here, to be honest with you.
are you using the bookmarks?
So there's one, I am using the bookmarks. There's
Okay.
one page that says 2.176 million Poker Hill Culvert repair.
Hang on.
No.
No, this is a, go back to the top. This is a TS or TA60 form.
Oh, yes,
So
that's
this-
another form.
Go back up. So this is a form,
The TA60 is a requirement when we put in these grant applications, that the town have one on record with the state along with a certificate of compliance. And I sent those along to you as
So we
well.
just took action on,
right, but this is a form that we fill out. This has got nothing to do with, this is a form that we fill out, basically that, well, explain it, Kurt.
Yeah, so TA60 looks for our financials and how much we're spending on winter road maintenance, how much summer road maintenance. Jennifer and I worked on it last year to come up with, these look like the right figures to use. Stone, winter sand, half the payroll, and so forth. So we break out the winter
that's a
costs.
separate thing than this. So Bridge 7 starts on PDF page 61 of the package.
So
It's there's no break, so it's
Right,
very
there's no break.
confusing.
Yep.
So
So
what
at
the
the
heck I'm
end of,
looking at.
So the Bridge 7 application, the paving applications, those are two separate documents that go to the state. Along with them, they require TA
So we're gonna
60
take a third action.
certification of
No.
compliance.
Well, you are, that's correct,
They
because
gotta sign that.
you do have to sign
All
TA
right, so we're
60.
gonna do 3 actions. We're focusing on Bridge 7.
Yep.
And that starts on PDF, page 60.
Yeah, sorry about that. We can-
Because it's just not clear. I'm like, what is 2 million and change
Yeah,
represent here?
that is.
Okay.
That's
TA
TA
60
60 form.
So yes,
I move that we pursue an application with the state as presented in our packet for Bridge 7 on next to Dean Road, with a pursuit of an exchange of funds,
if
or
necessary.
we get both funds for Mountain Road and Bridge 7.
I'll second that.
So if we do that, are we in any way jeopardizing the funds coming back for Mountain Road?
Probably not, because we were awarded engineering grants on each of those projects. So when you're awarded an engineering grant,
Design grant.
a design grant,
It moves you higher much higher on.
right, and it's a natural progression to getting a implementation grant.
Historically, most design grants are followed by construction grants. State's pretty good about, get this one, get that. The question is timing from design to construction.
And unfortunately,
We
we
got
just
lucky
had,
last year with the.
right,
So we just rolled the dice and got 2 that need to be, and one just happens to be a little bit more critical than.
well,
Has become more critical.
we should have, in hindsight, what should have been applied for first was Bridge 7,
Right.
and
Yeah.
but it's,
We didn't know it's gonna.
Hindsight's always 20.
it is always 20. So I think it's worth a shot.
And we couldn't apply for Bridge 7 last year because we didn't design done it. The design grant got released from Mountain Road 7 years ago. So that started work many, many years ago. And that's why we got Mountain ahead of Bridge 7, because at the time the two looked similar. Okay, let's go do Mountain. And so that design work got done. And now we just finished Bridge 7 design. And that's why we're at
Got it.
the timing that we're at.
I'm ready to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes carry this motion 3-0.
See how easy it is? I have to do it again.
So you should have, yeah, then
Now we have to do,
And then the certification of compliance and TA 60 are the ones that need to be signed by folks. One of you, I'll have to call on it to sign it, right? It's just the
no,
chair
it's all
required.
3, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know, so I won't sign slot, but whatever.
Duly authorized administrator. So one is there's one here that's basically certification of compliance of town road and bridge standards. So we did adopt the VTrans road and bridge standards, so that's just acknowledging that we did. And the other is the TA 60 form. And that basically legislative body of the municipality certifies that funds raised by municipal taxes are equivalent to or greater than the sum of at least $300 per mile for each class 1, 2, 3 highway. And based on the calculations that Jennifer and Kurt did, shows that we are.
Well over that.
we need a motion for this? For the TA 60 form?
Or just to sign both the certificate of compliance and the TA 60 form together.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
And I have the forms here, you can all sign them if you'd like, that way it's
Okay.
easier. There's a bunch of
Any
lines, so.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'll circulate it through Dan first, just
The
to get,
ayes carry this motion 3-0.
you can just date it today, it's fine. And this one's I'll leave them both together, but if you keep the same order, it's good. The 2 pages are together, but that's the signature page. And I'll just keep these here until we're ready.
Yeah.
Who does this design work for us? Like on the bridge?
TR is the engineering firm that does the actual bridge design.
Who is it again?
Cricket McClusker.
McCusker.
Lady that was on the thing.
Yeah, that you talked to every time. And then the civil work's being done by East Engineering, which is Salvador, Sweden.
Mhm.
Cricket comes from, her father was a bridge designer,
Yeah.
and she grew up in Morrisville
He started a company and she's picked that up from him.
a long time. Now lives in Rochester. All right.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump away. More of a jump than a skip.
So I want to just keep moving since we're behind a little bit.
Because it saves her having to drive an hour and a half each way to get out here, so.
There's not an easy way to get to Rochester.
So 722, and the next thing is the North Underhill Culvert. This was the rehabilitation to line the bottom with concrete and drill rebar, to extend the life of these. But I'm just going to read the bids for the record. So we received 3 bids.
Yeah, very,
The highest bidder was ECI Construction at $187,500. The next bidder was Blow and Cody at $83,100. And the low bidder was Anchor Foundations Incorporated at $71,000.
Do we have any experience with the low bidder?
Yes, very much. He's done a lot of work for the town and
long time guy, 40 years experience in concrete.
Right.
He's the one who gave us the original estimates and worked with us on, you can do this and this should.
Yeah, I remember that name.
It's been around for a while. We've been working on this one for,
So is that the recommendation, is to go with the low bidder?
yes. We're very happy to see that bid. because
I've
estimated
known this individual a long, long time.
Move that we accept the low bid?
At $3,000
Second.
budget.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 3-0.
Was that 100 you carried in for the
Very
budget?
hungry. Admittedly, there's some testing work that we need to do.
Right.
But
But 100 was the number.
That's gonna be a few K. So
100
100 is
in
over
budget.
budgeted.
Good.
By the time you finish
That's
the concrete testing and all, maybe cut the same. But happy to see that under budget.
All right, we're catching up here.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Hi, Jen.
Good
night.
night.
Happy
I'll
birthday.
be back Tuesday.
Do we need to talk to you?
Come
We'll celebrate when you get back, when Sherry's here.
Oh, yeah, deal.
Okay.
Tuesday, party.
All right.
Jennifer, did
We'll be here.
we need to talk to you? No?
No, that's
today.
Nick,
That's
a
later?
future meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, sometime April, May. So, good? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Kurt.
you, Kurt.
Thank you.
So the next thing were the commission board appointments. I guess the first one would be the Development Review Board.
These are all renewals.
Well, so the Development Review Board is,
Good night.
Thanks, Kurt.
the Development Review Board, and I give you a note here from Charlie Van Winkle, the chair, is recommending that Meg Armstrong be appointed as an alternate. And Meg's resume is there. She's also worked for the town. She's a very experienced, retired civil engineer. I think would make an awesome addition to the DRB.
Yeah, really.
I would like, as we appoint people to the committees, is that they are informed in advance of our conflict of interest policy. Do we
Already been done.
make the appointment?
So
Thank you.
And I have a motion that I worked with Brad on, and maybe that we just include that in the motion. And I will make that motion.
1-year appointment, this is.
Huh?
1-year appointment for the alternate.
I move that we appoint Meg Armstrong to the DRB for a term of 1 year contingent upon their acknowledgement of all policies and procedures of the town of Underhill. Is there a second?
An acknowledgement means signing?
So the form, like, for example, the conflict of interest form has an acknowledgement page. So by
Okay.
acknowledging that they understand and they sign.
Okay, I'm good with that. Good. I'll second that.
All right.
So question for you is that, so 1-year appointment, so her appointment then would be up in late March after town meeting day. So the next board would then have to consider that.
Correct.
Not before.
Correct. Yep, that's right. I think it's important. I think we should include, when we put appointments, it's like March 2023. I think it should be more specific. I think it should be today was the day she was appointed or for the year.
Or make it April, so that it's like her appointment is until April of 2024, so that there's no ambiguity as far as, she's on until the next board comes along, and then, the next board can then, make the choice as far as, but she's on it until, this body changes up, if at all.
Mhm.
I don't know, that's how I.
Yeah, that's good.
So 1-year appointment, can we make a change to say that her appointment would be, would expire on April 1st of 2024? Would that be
I like
okay to amend that?
No, I'll accept that amendment.
Good with that.
Vote on the amendment.
Sure.
Aye.
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 Okay, we voted on the amendment. So we have the motion in front of us with the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion with the amendment to April 1st, 2024 is passed 3-0.
The next one is Brian Tion, a memorandum for Brian recommending Boris C grades. I included a letter that he sent to the planning commission, and then just a brief resume of his background. So he was approved at a planning commission meeting.
And how many years?
This would be a 4-year appointment. And I would use the same thing, April.
So I would move that we accept that appointment, and it would expire April 1st of 2027. See, you can do that.
Contingent upon their acknowledgement of all policies and procedures of the town of Underhill.
Exactly right.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I could have said it better myself.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Boris is approved for a 4-year appointment. April 1. No fooling.
Right.
No fooling. Okay.
So, all right, that's that. 729. So ADA traffic control, this is pretty much the only traffic control we use.
We missed this resignation. Do we have
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Acknowledge that
Yep,
one.
you're right. Thank you for catching
No
that.
worries.
Appreciate it. And it was,
Amy,
yes, from Amy.
her term expired.
Term expires and
So she's,
ready to move on to do other things.
Amy who? I'm sorry.
go with it.
Go with that.
She's been on the conservation a long time.
Long time. So yes, that's her resignation. So, and we will have a replacement to consider next time.
They've got a couple of vacancies there.
Okay.
How long has she been on the conservation board?
Couldn't tell you if Dan might be able to.
She was on it when I was on it, a long time.
So I'd like to move that we send her a thank you card along with a $50 gift card to JCAT for her years of service with the town.
Have we done that in the past?
I don't know.
Just don't offend anybody.
Well, I don't know about the, I think a thank you card is a very good idea. And whatever.
The problem with, the gift card is precedent, I suppose, and
Do it for one, we should do it
and
for that.
how long a person is on it.
Maybe that's something we should consider. I mean, these people are, I hear what you both are saying. I guess I'm just looking at like, these folks have worked for the town of Underhill for years, committing hours, every month to the betterment of the town, so I guess I'm just looking at like, is it worth a buck a month for, if she's, been, doing this for 5 years or whatever, so it sounds like, because I think you've been doing it for more than 5 years, that's
Yeah, she
60
probably
months,
has
type
been
of
doing
thing, so it's just like, I don't know.
But there's.
But I know there's a lot of other people that have, served as well, and we probably haven't, done much for. But
There's a lot of people that we haven't done much for.
Maybe-
I'm not gonna name names in an open session, but there's many people who have, resigned from one thing or another, but they've done yeoman's work, and,
I'm gonna-
we really haven't done that.
I'm gonna withdraw that and just say if we can send a thank you card, and then I will address it differently under members' correspondence. We'll get to that part of the
And- and
agenda.
if we could-
I have a different idea.
Policy, okay. That's fair.
I think if a thank you card that you all would sign would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
I think
Very
it's a
nice.
great idea.
And we can address the other area under, I have an idea, so.
Okay. So ADA traffic control. Believe it or not, there are not many firms that do traffic control. This is the largest, most used in the state. This is basically their rates, stating what their rates are and their terms. We sign this every year. The rates went up a little bit. But basically, if we want to use these folks, we need to send them back and now I think this is generally in past years has just been signed by the road foreman and passed along. But I thought that you should look at it.
And we're not paying that except
No.
to use them.
Right, exactly. We're just agreeing on here's the rate for this year. Here it is.
Yeah.
Brad, do you have any concerns with the language in here?
No, pretty standard.
I'll move that we sign the ADA traffic control
Or
agreement,
have Nate sign it.
or authorize Nate to sign it.
His name's on it.
Okay, yep, I'll authorize Nate to sign it.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is passed 3-0.
Right. The next thing is and this is in the budget, right? This is basically the software package for the sign, the speed sign, to get the data. The only thing I didn't like is where the signature, I signed it already, but it says, by signing below, I indicate that my organization does not require a purchase order and I am authorized to commit my organization to this order. So if you just want to authorize me to sign this as I have, that would be great.
I move to authorize Brad to sign the traffic solutions paperwork.
Second that.
Discussion?
Are we gonna plan to renew this each year or just get data maybe once?
No, we're gonna, I think
And then reassess?
the decision was to keep it up, keep the data. The data is very handy. And then I had a discussion with Brian Welch, the deputy sheriff today, and told him that in this new budget, we have 2 signs that we're gonna order. He recommended, and he was talking with some other folks down at their office, they think they're a lot more effective when you move them around. So he suggested get something that you can just move around like I do. He said when they're in the same spots, they're still effective, but they become less effective. He thinks moving around, it's like all of a sudden somebody's driving around the corner, boom, there's a new one, you know, and so that's.
Well, we have one that's portable, but we also know that right now we have 2 areas in traffic that, you know, seem to be, you know, heavy hitters as far as, so I'm not disputing what he says. I guess what I'm saying is that I would rather try to concentrate our efforts on the beginning of Poker Hill and here near the school and see, you know, and then address this, you know, at next town meeting to see about, you know, additional signs, because it seemed like the feeling that I got at town meeting is that it was overwhelmingly supported to get these types of signs. And if we need to get additional ones for other roads and the taxpayers see a change in people's driving behavior, that they would likely support, you know, that.
So, and then just another thing is I think we can get a better deal because Bob kind of got me on the Sourcewell train, which is the this government buyers group where we get discounts on things, and all traffic is on that list.
Good.
So, and I'll have an update on that next time. I'm still waiting to get some information, but anyway, that's more good stuff. So, and this one is great to move around. Yeah, so have the 2 maybe in fixed locations. Have this one we keep moving around.
Exactly.
And I try not to take this out in the winter. It's just been my decision because I'm like,
Beat it up in all the salt.
well, yeah, it's just there goes this wing by a bunch of salt, and it just doesn't. If we want it to last, it seems like just using it in the spring, fall, summer.
But the other 2 are gonna be permanent.
Right. Those I think, you know, this is quite an older sign, so that was retrofitted. So we'll make sure that say, hey, this is going to be something, and it'll probably be set up a little higher. Anyway, all right.
End of my discussion.
So this thing,
Do we need to vote on this?
Do we vote on it?
No, we haven't yet.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion 3-0.
so FEMA, there was a disaster declaration. It was the 2019 Halloween storm. I think that was mostly wind. So FEMA is now saying that they're increasing the Subgrant Amendment from 70% to 90%. So if you just authorize Dan to sign the paperwork that included in your packet, we can get, I think it's $3,000 or $4,000 extra money.
I move we authorize Dan to sign the FEMA declaration page, whatever.
Increase Subgrant Amendment.
That.
Second.
Discussion, questions?
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Awesome.
The motion carries 3-0.
Okay, so this is a new one on me. So we are part of Pine Ridge Road was it's like a 10 or 12 lot subdivision with a road that was in excess of 850 feet. So I believe it got thrown into the land use program or Act 250. So it has a land use permit. On top of that, the town of Underhill actually took over the road. So we own the road in fee title. We own the strip of land that's on the road. So this particular subdivision is subject to a stormwater permit. Every 5 years, the permit needs to be renewed, and we're getting on that renewal period. And I just kind of found some of this stuff out because I saw an old folder and I spoke with someone on Pine Ridge about it. So I kind of did some research, dug it up. I did a database search on the site, and sure enough, Pine Ridge Road subdivision and the town of Underhill. So we're tied with either a homeowners association or the group of folks that live in Pine Ridge, right? So it's a stormwater discharge permit, so it's based on the impervious soil that is there. So we have the pavement of the road, right? That's our part. And then their part is the driveway and the parking and the roofs and so forth. So we're kind of tied at the hip with this permit. They're supposed to get yearly inspections. No one's been inspecting this. I spoke with Scott Homestead at Krebs and Lansing, who's a guy I know they do a lot of these things. He put together an estimate. It's a little bit more pricey the first time because they're not familiar with the project. They kind of going to start from scratch, but he's estimated $1,200 to do the scope of work that he determined. There's a renewal application fee of $240. So I kind of broke it down. And the permit process is going through a different review. This is a 910 permit. It's going into what's called a 950. I think people from Pine Ridge have tried to do this. The town has hired people like Mike Weisel before, who was an engineer that worked around town to help. I think we need to take this very seriously and get a good handle on it. But the town's percentage of this permit, based on what I kind of could figure out, so basically we're responsible for like 28% of this permit. The other 72% are the homeowners. And the only thing I'm a little unclear about is whether Scott's proposal here is including the homeowners as well. So I'll get to that. But basically, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. We've got some time. Krebs and Lansing, very reputable firm. We could go out and get other bids, but you have the discretion when it comes to professional services such as this, and the town has used them before.
Do we have any other
Yes.
developments like this?
We do. So there's one more.
Okay.
Mount Vista, which Kurt lives on. So, and Kurt kind of has been dealing with that. He's the contact there. He's been keeping up on the inspections. I think he's got a friend of his that is an engineer that kind of signs off on things. But basically, Krebs and Lansing want to come out and do a thorough analysis. They look at all the culverts. They look at the drainage. Is there anything deficient here that would interfere with our permit or not bring us into compliance with the permit?
So why do we have to do a stormwater assessment on these roads and not other roads?
Because they were tied. The only way I can figure it out is they actually had land use permits, so Act 250 permits, and the town owns the road itself.
So how do we, if we don't want to do that? I mean, I don't see what the advantage is other than it's always a yearly expense for us to.
But we have to do it. We're obligated. Otherwise, we'd be in a violation situation.
So what could we give that road back to the homeowners association? Say it's a private road. I don't know if
that's probably not a discussion for today, but
right.
Yeah. It's a road we took over and they deeded. I think Villeneuve did the development there, if I remember right. And basically,
well, since subsequent to that, we don't have any other. So if it's Pine Ridge and Mount Vista, we don't have any other town roads, that we're doing this for.
Well, the difference is we actually own these in title. So we own the title to the road. It's a strip of land that we possess.
I see.
So-
So it would be different than the Irish settlement where we
Way
don't have
different.
it.
Exactly.
have
It's
it.
just a right-of-way situation, right? And both of these subdivisions had land use permits. So I think they were part of this kind of weird, there's very few of these situations around, and Scott Homestead is familiar with several of them. He does a couple for Colchester. But I'd like to revisit this again, or bring it in front of you again.
Okay.
After I get a chance to talk with Scott a little bit more. And then see exactly if his quote included the homeowners of Pine Ridge or not, or if this is just to satisfy the town's portion, but we're tied together with the folks at Pine Ridge.
So we aren't losing any time.
No, I don't think so. No, we'll be fine.
Okay.
And nothing could be done until the snow's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So next meeting will be
Okay.
fine. I'll just
Yeah, that
go
would
back
be good.
at you, but just something to think about and get questions. So 746. This is just an update on the this is just an update on the orchard across the street. Don Toby took a look at it, and I included a letter that he wrote to me regarding the orchard, the proposed orchard.
I think this is great that Don took a look at it, and with his blessing, I'm fine with them moving forward with the plantings. And also with his support in pruning and taking care of the bushes and the trees.
So have they weighed in with the rec committee?
Not that I know of.
I would like their input too,
It's a good point.
because they utilize that area a lot, and not that things can't happen cooperatively, but I at least
should
think it
know.
would be a courtesy to
Would it be reasonable to pass a motion or consider a motion with that addition?
No.
No?
Not for me.
Work first with the rec committee and then wait to hear from you.
Well, so it's wonderful that these people today are willing to deal with the proposed orchard. But that's a lifetime of taking care of drops and pruning and everything like that. So who is really set up to deal with that, with the ladders and the clippers and, the rakes and stuff like that, type of thing. That's more of a ongoing thing. It sounds nice, but I guess I'm just looking at the overall maintenance of the proposed orchard there at that park. Would it be better to have, a proposed orchard, somewhere else? I don't know. It's just like, it's nice that, Moore Park is right here in the center, but do you really want to have that here, or would you rather have it, would it be possible to plant trees if we're going to be, maybe we can do it in conjunction. I guess I'm just like if we're going to be acquiring Dumas Road, and we take that house out conceivably, would it make sense to have, an orchard over there? I mean, we can't put any structures up, but, can you plant some trees over there? I mean, or can we plant any trees maybe and define around the parking area around where Tanasi Meadow? I mean, can we plant anything, there? Would that be a better spot to have something? Because over here, it seems like this is where, if you're going to have an event like the food truck or the hockey rink or whatever, do you really want to load this up with, apple trees?
So I don't necessarily want to make that decision. I want the rec committee and this group to talk together, because Don said it shouldn't interfere with any activity. And maybe they need to put stakes in the ground as to where they're proposing what. you know.
And what are they proposing? Are they
Yeah,
dwarf
they have
trees or?
blueberries, I've heard thrown about, and so on. I think it could be a great idea, but I think the rec committee, not that they own the place, but we've approved them to use it for certain things, and I'm not going to withdraw that approval because it's a huge success. So I don't want to approve something else and say, uh-oh, that impedes.
I agree.
Don Toby, has the right spirit, but I don't know that he can make the judgment that it won't impede, because.
Well, it's a good time to look at it. The rink is up right now.
Yeah,
You know,
it
so
is
they
good.
get together.
And I think that the,
Hurry up.
True.
not that the rec committee has to approve it, we approve it, but we want some cooperation, and we want them to say, yeah, we can work with that, that won't hold us back. And, with all the traffic there that the rec committee invites, which is a good thing, I'm wondering what that does to root systems of an orchard.
All right, I'll contact John and have them get together with the rec committee at their next meeting. And
There's many different ways to design an apple tree setup now with, instead of big branchy, hang of the
That's
apple
right,
tree over.
that's right.
I've seen very linear ones where they actually go out along a fence line, and it's
Yeah.
not very tall.
It's
You
kind
can
of like a
really,
fence.
exactly, you can
Really?
really groom them to be.
Yeah, it
Very
takes a little
linear.
work to
train it.
train them.
Exactly, but it takes up very little space if you do it that way, and it can be managed very effectively.
Good.
That may be a way for this small footprint of land to do it
Yeah,
that way.
I'm not thinking about, to John's credit, I'm certainly not thinking about 20-foot apple trees.
Yeah.
That's good because we don't have a lot of people that are really tall.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd like them to have some discussion.
All right. There you have it, 7:53 and closing public comment.
Is there anybody who wishes to make a comment publicly? Hearing nothing in this room and nobody's raising their hand on the monitor, we will move on to warrants and minutes. And I will go through these. I move that we approve the warrants for 3/23, 23, and those would be AP warrants. Is there a second?
Seconded?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
3-0. These warrants are approved. I move that we approve the check warrant report for 2/1 to 2/28, 2023. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Discussion. These are the, like the Internal Revenue Service, Vermont Department of Taxes, and some of our health plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry this motion 3-0. Here's a payroll warrant for 3/16/2023.
Already.
Is there
Supervision.
second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes carry that motion.
Officially, you're all done.
I move that we approve the AP warrants for 3/23/2023. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
The only discussion, I guess, we'll pass this and I'll ask a question. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This motion carries 3-0.
So if we could back up a little bit, the warrants and minutes that we approved just previously, the payroll, those checks have already
I know.
been cut before we approve them. And is that an issue?
It's the way it's always been done. Otherwise, we wouldn't get paid every 2 weeks. We get paid every 3 weeks or whenever it is.
But I guess I question, it's just like, well.
Right. So, but I think it's your opportunity to see what was paid. And if you have a question about anything or, adjustments can be made because it's ongoing.
But the ship, when it comes to that, the ship has sailed.
Yes. I think there's some provisions in
Okay.
the authority here about payroll. But I'd personally like to get paid every week myself. But anyway, but every 2 is manageable. But every 3 would be pushing it.
I guess it's just like one of those things where it's one thing if it's the salary employees, and it's just like, well, then we know it's a constant thing.
Yeah.
So why are we having to approve salary town employees every 2 weeks? I can understand that we'd want to approve maybe the hourly employees.
Well, sometimes we use vacation, or like here, I think I used a couple days vacation. Yeah, right here.
But we're not approving you to take vacation.
No.
Yeah, if you take a day, you take a day, or you're out sick, and it's recorded. But it's just like, I don't know. Maybe we can have this conversation.
No,
but it's just like one of those things where I'm just like, well,
I could get an answer for you. I know Sherry or Jennifer would have an answer, but
I mean, not salary, but payroll stuff, we can always make a change retroactively.
that's what I was thinking.
But
Yeah.
like checks to vendors,
You cannot. No.
and
Those don't go out. Those are in that box
until we sign.
those
Okay,
orders are
okay.
signed, and then the check goes
Okay.
out.
So we have,
Payroll's the only difference.
so if something showed up in a vendor where we're like, that's not right, we could hold that one. But paychecks, we can always retroactively make a change.
okay.
Mm. And then the ones that go out automatically, like the ones I mentioned, the healthcare stuff, we have to approve those by keeping things in order, but it's not like we want to hold that up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have many minutes, and the first minutes are an emergency meeting on February 24th, 2023, where we approved the posting of the roads, and Bob and I were on the phone with that. I move that we accept or approve, I guess the word is, the select board meeting minutes for Tuesday, February 24th, that took place at 1:30 p.m. Is there a second?
Yes.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstention, Patty, because I was absent.
This motion passes with 2 to 0 with 1 abstention. I move that we approve the select board meeting minutes. These would be the regular board meeting on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. And is there a second to that?
A second to it.
Is there a discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes carry it 3 to 0. Okay, I move that we approve the meeting minutes for February 27th. And those would be a regular meeting too,
That was a special meeting, I think.
a special meeting. Yeah, it was around, that's right, that was a hearing. That was the hearing when Dan.
Oh, for the informational
For
hearing.
the informational meeting.
There we go.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Very informative.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those meeting minutes are approved 3-0. And a special select board meeting on Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, at 2 p.m. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there discussion? That's where we approved the, because we were short of a meeting, we approved the warrants. And we also had discussion in executive session about employment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried 3-0. And I finally move that we accept or approve the meeting minutes for March 14th, 2023. And that was at 10 a.m. in the town hall. Is there a second?
Yes.
Mine or you?
Hmm?
I remember, is that a mine or something?
We were all here. That was when Cricket was here to talk about Bridge 7, among other things. Oh, that was our organizational meeting. And then we had the meeting with. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
She pointed the finger at me, just so you know. He did it. Sorry.
That motion carries 3-0 by appropriation.
By pointing.
That's right.
That's it. Now we
A
go
lot of
on.
minutes.
No, it's all the minutes.
That's a lot of minutes.
I'm just glad I got that finger, not another one.
Thank you, Donna.
And me, I had a couple in there.
Yeah, I know you did.
Donna carries the share of the load, no question.
Yeah, great to have.
Next meeting's April 13th. Contacts are dry now. Oh, and yeah, you wanted an executive session, right?
Before we get to that,
Yeah, we have, member items. Any member items?
I was just informed that we had a resident that was stuck over near the Burgess Sugar House in LaPorte's. So that may need to have attention taken first thing tomorrow morning by the road crew. That apparently it's pretty soft. Yeah, they finally got out, but it's, I guess, pretty bad.
Okay.
So 'tis the season.
It has started.
So I guess I'd like to have a conversation, maybe we can have it on a future agenda item, but if we can't give, or it would seem maybe we're not being considerate to those in the past, that people that have served the town in various committees, I'd like to see us, maybe move towards a volunteer appreciation dinner or meal that we could, maybe have for them, maybe in the summer or whatever, to just say thanks and, have fellowship or whatever for the people that are donating of their time to help, barbecue or, whatever, type of thing, that we could, maybe facilitate, here or, you know, the park or, well, what, you know, whatever, you know, type of thing. But I just thought that maybe that would be something nice that we could try to do on an annual basis to try to, you know, have, you know, we try to do things nice for the employees, but, you know, I think that, you know, there's a lot of people that on these various committees that we put on that, you know, we could say thanks to them too, that they're taking a lot of time away from their friends and family and all that stuff, so.
You could put something out front porch forum and say, you know, anyone who's ever served on a committee or volunteer for the town, come on over, you know, or something. Yeah.
You know, we could allocate some money to, you know,
Barbecue.
do a barbecue or whatever. I don't know, I'm just throwing that idea out there that, you know, maybe that would be a nice thing to do on a yearly basis, and that would, you know, well, whatever, I'm open to having more of a conversation if you want to have it in a future thing and see if we can find a few dollars that we might be able to make that happen.
Yeah, kind of like we did on the occasion of Rehab Day, which I thought was really a good thing.
I'm excited to do that again. I think it's fun.
I think that that's a good idea.
That was nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anytime we can do that.
Yeah, drop off a few tires and get a hot dog.
Yeah.
Great
Can't beat
time.
that.
That's right.
Some
Brad will be
rounds
behind the
of
grill
slingers.
and, you know, slinging dogs and, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Won't be
That's
long.
great.
I think we could talk about that.
Okay.
You know, when it gets closer to nicer weather.
Oh, and I do have, so I guess I do have a thing that I'd like to discuss in executive session.
Okay. I move that we enter executive session under 313, paragraph A, 3, for the employment evaluation of a public officer or employee.
Second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Please stop the recording.
So the decision was made, so the board went into executive session at 8:07. We're going to end the meeting right now, and then the minutes will reflect any action taken.
I move that we adjourn.
Well,
We'll note when we adjourn.
we'll note that those will be noted in the minutes.
So we're ending the meeting, but we're not adjourned.
We're ending the live stream.
Yeah, okay.